Please help me welcome Craig Ferguson.
Good evening, friends. My name is Craig. I'm an alcoholic. And now I'm going to take off my little tag because the first time I've been sober, my sobriety date is the 18th of February 1992. So I've been sober for 31 years, and this is my first convention. I've never been to a convention before. Yeah. And I realize now it's run by, some guys. Some guys. Yeah, you'll do the convention now, I think, a little bit. Maybe you come to Toronto. I think you'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy it. Thank you. These guys have been fantastic. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of the committee and the people who organize this, who don't only... Alcoholics organizing other alcoholics is not easy, and I do know that. But alcoholics organizing Al-Anons... Man, that is next level service. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I'm going to take this a little off. I kind of feel like livestock wearing this, so I'm going to take it up. I am very happy to be here. I can't think why I haven't been to a convention before. I just haven't. But I've been to a lot of meetings, and I'm here. I was meant to be here in 2020. I don't know if you guys saw a TV show called The News, but something happened and we couldn't have it, and so here we are. And it's very nice to be here. I've seen some great speakers already. I saw America today, who was just beautiful. Thank you so much. And I saw Jen today as well. I don't know if she's here. It was just lovely. America, I cried a little bit. I laughed a little bit. It was just wonderful. Thank you. My sponsor, John N., who's formerly of the Oakville Group, is the man the reason why I come to Toronto. And he is not here. He has to be in Scotland for something else, but he's the reason I'm here. He's actually the reason I'm here. If you don't know John, and some of you do, of course, but John... when I get out of the treatment center, I get sober through a treatment center, but it was a good one because they said, you're a hopeless case, you have to go to AA. If you've been through a treatment center, if you're new and you've gone through a treatment center and they've told you you're okay, you should get a refund. If you're hanging out with people like us, you're a long way from okay. If you're new, I can't tell you how excited I am for you. It's amazing. And weirdly enough, until today, and I swear, America, until today, until you said this, I never understood the expression that people, the sober by God's grace. I never really understood it. I mean, I heard people saying it was all people say, I'm a real alcoholic. I wear denim shirt and denim pants. And I spilled more than you'll ever know about, Sonny, and all that stuff. And I didn't really understand it. I thought it was some kind of thing. But I understand it now. You explained it to me. I didn't decide to get sober. I got given a gift. I didn't make a decision to get sober. You know what? I did. I made a ton of decisions to get sober, but I didn't get sober. But when somebody else made the decision to get sober, and I struggled, if you're new here, when I first came to this thing, I thought, what is this? What are you doing now, Craig? This weird mashup of the Moonies and Weight Watchers. What are you doing? And it was scary, and I didn't like it. And they talked about God, and I was worried about them talking about God. And I was angry at the use of the word God, and I didn't want to hear the word God, and I resisted it for such a long time. And I realized, this is fairly recent for me, I realized that I put much more energy into not believing in God than just believing in God. Like, I was gathering evidence for the prosecution, and no one was paying me. What I would do is I would look at difficulties in other people's lives and use that as is a reason to not believe in God. Like, with that terrible thing that happened over there, there can't be a God. And I heard someone speak, a speaker we were talking about earlier on, a gentleman by the name of Ray O'Kay. If you never heard Ray, you missed out. And there's tapes of him. He was amazing. And he used to say the greatest lesson of Alcoholics Anonymous was, I can't swear, but he would say the greatest lesson of Alcoholics Anonymous was, mind your own business. Mind your own business. Now, mind your business, though. And so, I do believe in God now. But it's taken a while. So, I'll tell you the story of how I got there. Anyway, here it is, what it was like, what happened, and what it is like now. I'm from Glasgow in Scotland. Yeah. That's the people that I had to say it was the Noon Group in Chancellor Street, because they're Scottish and they'd be like, wait a minute, there's no Friday night meeting in. And if you know anything about Scottish people, they're just waiting to prove you wrong. You're not really Scottish! Well, I am. It was I'm not even a member of that meeting anymore because I moved house, but oh well, never mind. I was during the pandemic. That's not important. I mean, so actually, the first time I've had a commitment doing, I think, every job in it, apart from GSR. I've never done that, but I've had commitments doing everything. The only time I've ever had a greeter commitment, I'd never had a greeter commitment before. I touching everybody and I mean, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but when alcoholics get together, they get wildly positive and shouty. And when I got in here, I was overwhelmed by knitwear and good vibes. But the first time I ever took the job as a greeter was early March 2020, And I'm going to take that as a sign from the God as I understand him that I don't need to do that commitment. I hear the message. Anyway, I'm from Glasgow in Scotland, and I had my first drink. I don't know if I'm from an alcoholic family. I think I don't know. I don't know if my dad was an alcoholic. He drank a lot. But there's a difference, as you guys know. But I had my first drink. The first time I got drunk, there's a friend of mine and I, from school, his older brother got us a bottle of El Dorado, it was called. It's named after the mythical city of gold. It's a fortified wine that used to be made in South Africa during the apartheid regime. It's probably illegal. It should have been illegal then. It was a fortified wine, and I drank it, and we went out. I drank it. My friend Stuart and I drank it, and I got drunk, and I peed myself, and I punched the policeman, Mr. Emsley, who lived down the road. Actually, Sergeant Emsley. I punched Sergeant Emsley, and he thought I was pretty funny, and took me home with my dad. And the next day, I woke up with having peed myself. I woke up with, I was a bedwetter as a child. And then it stopped when I was about 12. And then when I started drinking, it kicked in again. Anyway, I haven't wet the bed since the 18th of February, 1992. So, by the way, I would like to give a shout out to all my brother and sister alcoholics in the spill-off rooms that are getting the camera feed. Hi to you guys. I know I'm here with the $100 alcoholics, but I'm really a $40 alcoholic, and you're my spiritual home. Anyway, I woke up that morning having drunk the El Dorado, having blacked out, with a firm resolve never to do that again. I was never going to do that again. And of course I did it again and again and again and again and again. I couldn't. And when I first came to AA, what happened was I'd been drinking with, and taking drugs, by the way. I took drugs when I was drinking. I hope that doesn't bother Andy. But, and if it does, okay. the reason why I never have a problem with that, because I know exactly what I am. I'm an alcoholic. And the thing is that, like, if I was in a bar, and this happened many times, somebody would come in and say, oh, hey, there's a guy, we can go and buy some Coke. I'd be like, oh, the bar's open. If this guy wants to sell his Coke, he can come to the bar. I never leave an open bar to go and buy drugs, because I'm an alcoholic. Anyway, I'd been going out and hanging out with this guy, and I was getting drunk, and then he kind of disappeared a little bit, and there was rumors about him, he'd been seen with his wife, and wearing a jumper, We'd heard things. I knew what happened. I knew he'd gotten sober. You can tell when they disappear like that. Do you know when I was a kid, when I was 3 years old, I had to get my tonsils out, and I remember it vaguely. They kept us all in a big bottle green room in Springburn Hospital, Stobhill Hill Hospital, Springburn in Glasgow, and it's just a bunch of kids all getting their tonsils out, and one by one they'd come in. We were all waiting, just playing with toys, and they'd come in. A kid would disappear and not come back. And I get down to about 5 kids, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? That was kind of like, guys in my group were getting sober, and they were just like, disappear. I'm like, where are they going? Anyway, Jimmy, my friend Jimmy, who's still sober and still my friend, that's a thing, by the way. You hear a lot of statistics when you come in. People love statistics. Here's me minding my own business about the statistics of Alcoholics Anonymous. 100% effective. 100%. But we'll get to that. So Jimmy disappeared. I knew he'd gone. I had his phone number, and he told me afterwards, because I used to phone him in blackouts. I would phone him up. He'd answer the phone, and I'd hang up. This is before there were cell phones and stuff. It was like, you had to get a note from the Queen and I would phone him up, and he would answer the phone. And like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. This guy had a job and he was sober, but he knew it was me calling, so he would answer the phone. And eventually I called him up and I said, all right, I'm done. I can't do any more. And he went, okay. And he had got sober through a treatment center, so he said, I'll take you to a treatment center. I went, okay. And it was very expensive, and I had no money, like none. And he said, they'll take you, and you can pay them back later. I was like, okay. So I went to this treatment center. It was a good treatment center because they told me I'm a hopeless case, and I would have to go to AA when I came out. So they were okay. A lot of the people who were in this treatment center, which is now closed down, they were in AA. So they said, but they told me a lot of things that I've moved to the side a little bit. They told me this in the treatment center that said, if you do 2 months in a treatment center, it's like doing 2 years in Alcoholics Anonymous. It's like 2 years of sobriety if you have 2 months in a treatment center. And I was like, good. And they got me to write a letter to the 10-year-old version of myself asking for forgiveness and stuff, and I was like, sure. And 10-year-old me forgave me, and it was great. We all cried. And hugged each other. And they asked me questions I didn't understand, like, how do you feel? And I was like, I don't know. But I listened to the other people in the group, so I would say, vulnerable. Like a dick. It's like, I feel vulnerable. And they would go, and then they'd write more letters and stuff. And anyway, when I came out, they were great. I mean, they were really nice. I don't want to talk them down. They were great. They were very understanding. They just didn't have what I needed. They had enough of what I needed. They helped me get on the track, but they didn't have what I needed once I got sober. And I'm going to get to that. So what happened was I come out of the treatment center and I have to go. First of all, I meet my sponsor, who is my first meeting. I go in. He's still my sponsor. John, my sponsor, is. I go to this meeting in London, which is near the treatment center. I walk in. He's the only other Scottish guy in there. I'm the only one that can understand him. I'm like, this guy is great, and everybody else is like, I have no idea what he's saying. And it's like, oh, this guy's amazing. So I go over to him and I said, Mister, I need help. And he said, yep, you do, son. You do need help. Ha, ha, ha. Don't worry, I'll big face and eyebrows and everything. Like, I'll help you. And he's awesome. He's still like that. He's like, oh, ha, ha, that's great. Come on. No, you have to go to Toronto. The mafia runs it. Go, yeah. There's no such thing as the mafia. There's no such thing as the mafia. Sorry, that's a dumb thing to say. I beg your pardon. I make a mess. Anyway, jeez. It's like when people come up to me and do Shrek voices. I'm sorry. I get it. I apologize. I was dumb. I promptly admit that I was wrong. There you are. AA in action. So, anyway, I talked to John, and then I go back to Glasgow. I go from the treatment centre, I talk to John. John's got contacts in Glasgow, and I had to go to Glasgow for a job. So I go back to Glasgow, and you Glaswegians, you maybe know this, I go to the Albert Drive Wednesday night meeting, which is a great meeting, strong meeting, solid AA, good AA there, good AA. But there was a misunderstanding when I got there, because I had been on TV and stuff. In my job, I'm on TV sometimes, and I was on TV, and so some people recognized me and went, oh, look, the speaker didn't turn up. You speak. I was like, yeah, okay. And at Albert Drive, you speak for 45 minutes. So I did. I spoke for 45 minutes with 2 months, second meeting out of a treatment center. And I told the good people at Albert Drive, who are kind of like this table here, like 1 billion years of sobriety. And I talk to these guys, and it's mostly guys. And I say, I tell them that they should maybe write a letter to the 10-year-old version of themselves, asking for forgiveness. And I say to them, 2 months in a treatment center is like 2 years in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I swear, every single one of these people came up to me afterwards to thank me, and they said, the theme of this conference. That was great, son. You keep coming back. You keep coming back. Have you heard anything like that, Bobby? That is fantastic. We don't get a lot of that here. You keep coming back. And they were fantastic. They were just wonderful. As the people of AA are. I mean, we're great. We are. We're fabulous. I mean, every now and again. But en masse like this, it's amazing. Anyway, what happened was that through my connection with John and through my first year getting sober in Glasgow, I learned something. I learned, for someone like me, an alcoholic of my type, a real alcoholic, I suppose, if you like, that there's really only, to my mind, one way to get sober, and that's to follow the program as it's laid out in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, that sounds like I'm just saying that, and I'm not just saying that. The program of Alcoholics Anonymous, laid out in the book Alcoholics Anonymous, available at surprising discount rates at the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's it. Now, the book itself, I believe, is a textbook. It's a book that you learn from. So, in the time that I've been sober, I've learned how to be a pilot. I learned how to fly a plane. When you learn how to fly a plane, they don't give you a book and say, read that, you'll be good. What you do is, you read the book, The Pilot's Guide to Aeronautical Knowledge is the name of the book, but also someone who already knows how to fly takes you through the information in that book, because it's easy to think you've got it when you don't. And the stakes for getting it wrong from the Pilot's Guide to Aeronautical Knowledge are exactly the same as getting it wrong from the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. I would stress to you, as I have been asked by William Silkworth in the book Alcoholics Anonymous, to stress to the alcoholic the fatal nature of your condition. It'll kill you if you let that happen. Now, if you're here, it means, like me, you got hit with God's grace, or you're a guest. If you're here and you don't really know if you're an alcoholic, let me help you. You are. Now, I know I'm not meant to say that, but I also know none of these people have the authority to kick me out. So, if you're here wondering if you're an alcoholic, you're at a conference of Alcoholics Anonymous. You're an alcoholic. Anyway, I got sober in Glasgow at first, where if you do get a chance to go there, the meetings are spectacular. I mean, amazing. I've just heard so much there. There was I became fascinated, as a lot of people do as they hurtle into their dotage in AA, is that I became fascinated by, early Christianity and the Bhagavad Gita and all the other things. They're all great. They're all fabulous stuff. And I like St. Augustine of Hippo, who said, if God were trying to understand the mind of God is like trying to pour the ocean into a cup. I thought, well, that's very good. And then I heard a woman in Glasgow say it in her way, and I thought, that's even better. She said, son, if God was wee enough for me to understand, he wouldn't be big enough to do me any good. So, there you are. I was like, St. Augustine of Hippo, again. But I got sober a little while, and then I work in show business, and so I wanted to go to California where they have some. And it's not that they don't have it in Scotland, it's a different flavour. So I wanted to go and get tan and have my teeth done or something, I don't know. So I went to California, and started going to the AA meetings in California. I don't know if any of my Californian brothers and sisters are here, but I welcome. Of course I recognized you. You look great. I went to California, and of course the meetings in California are not run like they are in Glasgow or London. So I told them in the meetings where they were going wrong. Which endeared me to Clancy, funnily enough. He and I became quite friendly. But I loved it. Before I went to California, I went to London, and something happened. And if you're new, this is important because it was amazing to me. About a year sober, I go to London, and I make friends, like sober friends, guys that I can hang out with, and I start like living a life, not just going to meetings and hanging on, but I would still go to AA. In fact, my life is AA, and I'm in AA, and I'm doing it. But I have friends, and I'm doing things, and I'm going out, and I started to experience laughter. I remember it. Laughter, like real transcendental, like that movie, The Green Mile, where all the flies come out of his mouth, like the disease comes out of it. It felt like the laughter was doing, real laughter, like transcendent, not like this stuff on acid where you can't stop, but oh, so I think one or two of you did too, alright. It wasn't like that 7 o'clock in the morning, oh God, when will this hilarity end type laughter. But real laughter, like something that I experienced it a lot now, but I started to experience it then, and with friends, people who I'm still friendly with. Some have shuffled off, but that's what happens. And then I went to California, and I was okay. But I was telling the Californians where they were going wrong, and I was a little snippy with the meetings, and something very bad happened, actually. I started to make money. I know. Because I don't know if any of you guys, well, you're the $100 alcoholics, you're all loaded, but this is a cautionary tale for the $40 alcoholics. But I started to make a little money, and it freaked me out. I'd never really made any money. I was making some money, and I was doing what looked like okay in my, I hesitate to call it a career, but I suppose that's what it is. And I didn't know what to do, and I went to the I think it's the Great Fact men's group on Olympics, a crosstalk meeting in Los Angeles, and I said, I'm having a real hard time, guys. I'm making money and I don't know how to handle it. 3 guys after that meeting borrowed money from me. And I started to understand that perhaps there are things you say in the meeting and things you say to your sponsor. None of them paid me back, and they're all sober. Mind your own business. Got it. So, it wasn't a lot of money, it's all right. But I started to, when I was I wasn't going through the steps properly. Now, for me, the steps are the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. If I'm living it, I'm good. If I'm not, I'm not. And I go round and round. And actually, on the way here, I was in Los Angeles. I flew up from. The only thing that would work on my phone was an audio book of the 12 steps. It was the only thing. Nothing else would download. I'm like, oh, okay. Subtle. So I listened to it on the flight. I managed to listen to all 12. As I get to the end of step 12 in the audio book, it's like, the seat bags are landing in Toronto. I'm like, oh, okay. So I listened to it, and I got off the plane, and I made 3 phone calls that I should have made maybe a few years ago. I'm like, wow. Still going. So anyway, the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, now, it's quite complicated. It's not complicated, but it's involved. It involves work and application and thinking about it. I can't do it in an hour. I can't make it, I can't give you the trailer and make you, okay, you have to do it. And then you have to go through it. I think it was Joe and Charlie who said, we put the 12 steps up like that's it. That's not it. That's some of it. The whole program is laid out in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is available at discount rates at the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's perfectly simple, and get someone to take you through it. Someone who's done it before, someone who has sobriety that you aspire to, or just seems calm, in my case, or just had big eyebrows and wouldn't leave you alone, which is really my stance. But anyway, about 5 years, I was uncomfortable. I drifted away from the program, is really what I was saying. I hadn't really, in the sense that I was still going to meetings, I was still being social, but I had the wrong kind of mindset of it. Like I used to say, some of you younger alcoholics, maybe, I don't know if you do this. I certainly was doing this when I was younger. People would say, how was the meeting? If you went to a meeting, how was the meeting? Like now, I go to a meeting, it's a meeting. It's like asking me, I don't know how the meeting was. It was a meeting. But when I went to it when I was younger, it was like, how was the meeting? Whether you don't say to someone who's on dialysis, how was dialysis? Was it all right? Were there any cute girls at dialysis? Did you meet any? Did you see any celebrities? My Californian sisters. But I drifted away from it. I applied myself to the program, as you so eloquently today, America, talked about it. I was away from it. And I started to feel very panicky. I was having panic attacks. I'd had panic attacks when I was, trying to get sober, but I was trying to get sober. But I was 5 years sober when this stuff was happening. And I decided I was very promiscuous when I was drinking. I actually wasn't, but I had intended to be. And, I was like, rabbit. I mean, I was as promiscuous as a, drinking alcoholic could be, given the fact that it was like, if you didn't get him by 10 o'clock, that's it. But I started to experience a great deal of guilt about that, which I wasn't kind of comfortable with. And at the time, the great guilt trip that was being laid on everyone was AIDS. It was, now I know people in recovery who have had AIDS, who have died of AIDS, who have it now, who live life and go through life and they have AIDS. But I had decided that I had been promiscuous and I had caught AIDS. There was no reason for me to think I had AIDS other than I had invented AIDS in my... So this was a time when I didn't want to go and get tested for it because, no. I'd have to talk to someone and then admit that I don't know, you had to talk to someone. So they came out with these, I don't know if you guys remember this, there used to be a mail order test that you could do prick a little blood and you put it, this is in America, you put it on a card and you sent it away. And 5 working days later, you dialed a number and you punched in the number that was on the card that you sent in, and it would either say, you do not have AIDS, or you do have AIDS. So I dialed it, and it said, you do not have AIDS. And I was like, oh, thank God. And it said, if you want to hear this message again, press 2. So, yes. So I did 2. You do not have AIDS. And I was like, all right, if you want to hear this message again, send $39.99 to I was like, damn. But something happened during that time period, in the 5 days that I was waiting. I was scared. I was really scared. You know when you invent something in your mind? I don't know if any of you alcoholics can identify with this. Some of you guests will not understand what I'm talking about, but have you ever invented a condition for yourself, having told no one else, especially not a medical professional, and then just waiting for it to be over? Well, that's what I had done. I was feeling bad, and now, just before I got sober, the last Christmas, and I'm going to end up telling this dumb story, but here it is. The last Christmas before I got sober, I was drinking. I'd been drinking with an Irish fella. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Irish, but they have some alcohol issues as well as Scotland. I'd been drinking with an Irish friend of mine in London, and it was Christmas Eve. He had a pub. He wasn't really my friend. He had a pub. And we were drinking, and I was meant to go home, and it was Christmas Day. I was going to go home to see my parents before wives and kids and all that. And I didn't make it. I woke up on Christmas morning in the bar. I thought, you scumbag. You can't even get home to your parents Christmas Eve. Piece of crap. I thought, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself today. This is the day, Christmas Day. I'm going to go to Tower Bridge in London, which is the one that opens up, the big dramatic one. I'm going to climb up to the top, and I'm going to swan dive into the Thames, and that'll show them. What a prick. So that's what I was going to do. And I meant it. Now, if you're an alcoholic and you've had these urges, So I was going to show them. I was going to dive off Tower Bridge. I was going to show them. And on the way out the pub, Christmas morning, I get down there, and Tommy, my friend who owned the pub, he had slept behind the bar. I don't know if he was an alcoholic. But he had slept behind the bar, right? And I was heading out to go and kill myself, and he said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Scotland to see I didn't want to tell him I was going to go and kill myself because the Irish, you know. Oh, no. So, listen, if I say anything tonight that offends you, by the way, please don't hesitate to talk to your sponsor about it. As far as I know, I don't have any sponsees in this room, so. Not yet. So, anyway, I'm leaving this bar, and Tommy says, "Where are you going?" And I said, I'm going to go up to Scotland to see my parents for Christmas. He said, "You can't get there. There's no transport, and your car's in the shop. You told me last night." I was like, "All right, I'm just going out." And he went, "Oh, all right." He said, "But before you go, have a glass of sherry for Christmas morning." I was like, "Okay." So he poured me a sherry, what we would now call a venti sherry. Like a proper sherry, not like a, oh, Vicar, yeah, like a sherry. And I drank the sherry. And I forgot to kill myself. And Santa arrived, and now, if you're an alcoholic like me, you understand that I needed that alcohol to stay alive. So I'm an alcoholic. That's why we drink. That's why I drank anyway. I needed it. I didn't drink. I didn't want to be a pee-to-bed 30-year-old. 29. I'm not trying to, look attractive to the Al-Anons. I'm just saying. Well, oh man, I'm even offending myself now. But I promptly admit that I was wrong. I shouldn't have said that. But I actually remember once I had a girlfriend once. I lived with this woman for 5 years. And I never really told her the truth about myself. This is sherry related. Actually, she used to say to me, as I said to her I'd been in Berlin prison in Glasgow. Because, I was a hard ticket. I've never been in prison in my life. But she used to say to me, "What was it like in prison in Berlin?" I was like, "I don't want to talk about it." Yeah. I was living with this person. It wasn't just like a night. Is that telling me to shut up, or? Oh, it's just. Is that Morse code? What's happening? Is it a tech thing, or do you want me to shut up? What?
No, it's tech.
All right, okay. No, sorry, we're good. So. Can you unplug it, or I'm going to have a seizure? Which, I haven't had since the 18th of February. Anyway, I lived with this woman for a long time, and obviously for 5 years, and I wasn't. We had a house in the country. We had a little house in the country, and we used to go to this little house in the country, and it was rural England. We used to go to this little place in rural England, and it was a village of 27 people, and when we were there, it was 29 people, and she wasn't there once, and I went to the pub, and I was drinking, and they all knew me. I'd been coming in and out of there. They knew I was just the guy that would come from London, get drunk sometimes, and this night I was in the pub. It was a rural pub in England. They're all like, stick to the paths and all that. And there was the local celebrity was in, the mole catcher. He was a mole catcher. And everyone was talking to him about moles and stuff. And I had like, after about 3 or 4 drinks, I was like fucking sick of this guy. And I'm like, I've done a bit of mole catching. And they knew. They're like, you're from Glasgow. There's no moles in Glasgow. No moles in Glasgow. I mean, there might be, I don't know. I'm not a mole catcher. Maybe there are. But I couldn't be me. I had to be anything else but me. You guys should really pay the bill. I don't know. You all right? Oh my God, I can see you all now. This is terrifying. Yeah. I just got hit by a wall of judgment. Yeah. It's all right. I've been to dark rooms with alcoholics before. Actually, it's how I got here. So. Okay. So anyway, what I'm saying is I couldn't be me. But this girl that I live with is a very patient woman who thankfully moved on with her life, and she asked me to stop drinking for a while, as if any of you have been in relationships with civilians, you know they do that, bless them. And so I stopped drinking, I think for about a week or something, and her father and mother were coming to have Sunday lunch. And her father was a very proper man, and they came to have Sunday lunch. She said, "You can have a glass of sherry when my father's here." I was like, "Oh, thank God." And I had one of these tiny little glasses of sherry, these little Meet the Vicar glasses of sherry. And I hadn't had a drink for a week, and it went into my body, and I can still feel that sherry. It was like Jesus. Oh, God. Oh, the warmth of a million suns. All the love in the universe. And I don't even like sherry. Now, if sherry does that to you, you could be an alcoholic of my type. The hell was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So, I'm going to kill myself. I drink the sherry and I forget. 5 years later, I'm sober. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm waiting for the result of the AIDS test, which, I'm thinking, oh, I've got it, because remember that girl. So weird. And in the time period, because I was sober. I was 5 years sober, but I was crazy. I thought, I'm going to kill myself. I can't wait in the result. If I get AIDS, I'm going to kill myself. I can't. No, I know people who have AIDS, they're living their life, but I'm like, I'm going to kill myself. If I've got AIDS, I'm going to kill myself. So I thought, how am I going to do it? This is while I'm waiting on the result. I thought, well, what I'll do is, I'll get my car, and I'll drive up the PCH, the big windy road with a cliff drop. And what I'll do is I'll cut the brake lines on the car. Now, I don't know where the brake lines are on a car. I mean, I'd probably like the lights, probably that would have it. But I thought, I'll cut the brake lines of the car, and I'll drive up the PCH, and I'll hit some speed, and then at a certain point, the brakes will fail, and I'll go off the edge, and I'll die in a fiery wreck. But it would be dramatic, like jumping off the bridge, but at least people that love me will think it was an accident. And I thought, and it came to me in the weird way that the God of my understanding comes, said, that is a great amount of spiritual growth. Because 5 years ago, you were going to show them. Now, you're going to make it look like an accident. You are beginning to think of other people. Now, that may sound sick, but only if you're not an alcoholic. And so what I did is I eventually, the craze or the fashion of the time was to try and medicate alcoholics. So I went to see a doctor in Cedars Sinai in Beverly Hills, and I'd been recommended to by someone in the fellowship. He said, this guy might be able to help you out. And I go and see this guy, and he said, he recommended some, I don't know, whatever it was, some drug. And I said, really? Is that the only option? Because I'm like dying here. I don't want to start taking drugs. It's so hard to get off booze. I don't want to take drugs. And he said, well, the only other option. And I went, there is another option. He went, yeah. He said, you'll have to, well, I'm sorry I say it, you're going to have to, like 2 hours of rigorous exercise every day. In about a month, I was ripped. I was in great shape. Because, and what happened is, as time went on, I'm like, I think I can get it down to about 20 minutes. But as you can see. But I do remember at the beginning, and here's where I think, and it was what you said today, America, made me think of this, about God's grace. I didn't decide to get sober and then I got sober. I decided to get sober and couldn't get sober. I decided to get sober and couldn't get sober. I'm getting sober. I couldn't. I decided never to drink again when I was 13. I'm never going to do that again. I made the decision then. Couldn't do it. I didn't want to be a guy pretending to be a mole catcher. I mean, no disrespect to any Canadian mole catchers who are... It's a real job, you know. But what happened was, when that woman that I told you about, when she and I broke up, I was really crushed. I didn't want it to happen. I understood why she left, but I was bad, and I was heartbroken. And yet again, the business of alcohol ruining your life and robbing you of any happiness. So I went for a walk from that little house in the country. There was a marsh nearby, and I went for a walk, and I remember saying a prayer to a God that I didn't believe in then, really. I don't know what I felt. I didn't have any kind of understanding of it. And I said, I will do whatever it takes. I will do whatever it takes to get sober. If it means going to AA or anything else, I'll do that, God. Here's the deal. I'll do whatever it takes. That was on a Friday. In Monday of the following week, I was actually Tuesday, because I called up Jimmy, and he said, I can get you into the treatment centre today, Friday, or it's a bank holiday, so you'll have to wait till Tuesday. So I said, Tuesday. But Tuesday, I haven't had a drink since that Tuesday. So the Friday before, I asked God. On Tuesday, I get sober. I don't know if that's proof of God for you, but I'm afraid it kind of is for me. And let me tell you what I did during the pandemic when I should have been here talking to you guys 2 years ago. I have a house in Scotland. It's where I live. It's fancy. It's old. And it's got a bit of land, and on the property there's an old, it's like an old fisherman's boat, made of stone. Nobody knew what it was. It was derelict, and I had nothing to do. I said, I'm gonna fix up that old stone building next to the river. And my wife said, what are you gonna do? I said, I think it was a church. I'm gonna make it a church. And she went, now, I don't know, listen, I don't know where the big things are in a car. I was on YouTube learning how to paint, it's like, but I fixed up this building and I turned it into a church. I painted the walls white, and I did the roof, and I got a bell from a demolished primary school nearby, and me and a local joiner went up and we put a bell up in the church, and there was a little rope, and I went to a salvage company in Glasgow and I bought church pews, and the guy said to me, is this for a bar? And I'm like, yeah. Because I don't believe in God, and just building a church, that's all. And when they were delivering it, the guys are delivering these church pews they're bringing into this church. And they're like, what's going on here? Is this a wedding venue? And I said, yeah. Yeah, it's a wedding venue. We're going to have weddings here. He said, so it's a church? I went, yeah, yes, it's a church. And he said, the delivery man said to me, we've never delivered church pews to a church before. They're always for bars. So I built a church. I don't know if I believe in God, but I built a church because I'm an alcoholic. And I still don't know what that even does. But I know this. I feel better having built the church. And I didn't drink. And that church was meant to be there anyway. But now, in Scotland, and I know that some of my Scottish brothers and sisters are here, we've had some issues with religion over the years. Here and there. So I thought, one of the guys that helps me out in that place in Scotland, he's from a different type of he's a Catholic and I'm a Protestant. So he said, what's the church going to be then? I went, what do you mean? It's a church. He said, well, is it going to be Catholic or Protestant? I said, none of those. He said, well, what is it then? I said, it is a new church. He said, what is it then? I said, it is the non-denominational Church of Scotland. He said, that's no a church. I said, it fucking is now. Now, it's not a big congregation, I'll admit. And we don't have much in the way of doctrine. But if you make it, you're welcome. I heard a lot of stuff when I was coming in here that scared me. And none of it scares me now. None of it. I was so riddled with fear. And it was over. And what now? And it's all gone. Pops up from time to time. Whack-a-mole. But it's all gone. And if you're new, wow, it's quite a ride. Now you don't have to go building a church, but you probably will, in your own way. And it's great. It's great. What I feel looking at you guys right now is this. Is gratitude. Gratitude you let me stay. Gratitude for these two yo-yos that put this thing together. You know, I think I would have got on with that one better than I would have got on with that one, but who's to say? Doesn't matter. It's not Alcoholics Unanimous. And we're still people. And some of us agree, and some of us disagree, and some of us have got very strong opinions about things. And if you've got very strong opinion about what I said tonight, I really hope your sponsor enjoys hearing it. Pray for me. You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much for letting me be part of this. Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you very much.